Welcome to PAR Podcast, episode 76.16. PAR Podcast is an audio supplement for Public Administration Review, the premier professional journal in the field of public administration. This year, 2015, PAR celebrates 75 years of furthering public administration research, theory, and practice. This episode features comments by Kim Isett, an associate professor in the School of Public Policy at Georgia Tech University. Dr. Isett discusses her article titled, Caveat Emptor, What Do We Know About Public Administration Evidence, and How Do We Know It? Co-authored with Brian Head and Gary Van Landingham. This article is currently available in early view and will be published in Public Administration Review, Issue 76, Volume 1.
This article, Caveat Emptor, What Do We Know About Public Administration Evidence, and How Do We Know It, is the first in a series of articles for our new feature, Public Administration and Evidence. Here we provide an overview of the new feature, and we create a space where scholars and practitioners can exchange dialogue about what is happening in the field and how it comports with empirical evidence. Our aim is to create a resource for scholars and practitioners to find evidence. Here and in the paper, we outline the purpose, scope, and rationale for the feature. In the last decade, there's been a movement to find a nexus between public decision-making and evidence. However, this is based on an assumption that evidence is out there for public managers to use that is accessible and timely and useful. But this isn't always true. The evidence that it's out there with regard to public decisions may be uneven or poor quality. For example, some areas of policy and administration have inadequate data that interfere with the accumulation of sound evidence, or existing data is of limited usefulness because it's too specific to the context in which the policy or program was implemented. Some high-quality analysis is hidden in reports that is not widely accessible by either public managers in other jurisdictions or researchers. And existing available evidence could be outdated or based on irrelevant institutional arrangements. While everybody acknowledges that public decision makers need to satisfy, meaning that they need to make decisions on best available data rather than waiting for perfect or complete information, we need to do better at explicating specific areas of research studies that are available. We need to do better at explaining whether the evidence supports an overall conclusion that a practice is effective, the parameters about how a practice works, the populations and circumstances in which the practice is effective, and the specific conditions under which it was tested and validated. Our feature will systematically look at the evidence of what works in public administration to assist in avoiding Simon's proverbs of administration and moving from the normative to the evidence-based and empirical. Our purpose is quite simple and straightforward. We aim to create a repository for evidence in our field that is identifiable and easy to access. We want to establish what practices are underpinned by evidence, where gaps exist in that evidence, and where uncertainties may still remain. We'd like to create a resource for public decision makers to outline where they need additional evidence, as well as create a resource for researchers to avenues for research that are of intellectual and practical merit. Our approach draws from existing efforts in this area, such as in mental health services research, medicine, and social and behavioral sciences. These are all outlined in the full paper. Our feature will have 4 main rotating kinds of articles. The first is practice assessment. This is what is being implemented or considered and the drivers of adopting reforms. Implementation. This is the experience of implementation of a practice to inform efforts of others and the lessons learned. Examining poorly diffused practices. So what practices have good evidence but have not diffused, and why, and what are the realities that public managers face that prevent diffusion? And then finally, the evidence on evidence. This is an occasional article type where we look at the evidence creation process. What is evidence, how it's created and accumulated, how it gets translated into practice. We invite you to propose topics to us about what you would like to see covered and information that you need that you haven't been able to find. We are open to topics and intellectual perspectives as long as it contributes to public decision making. We're particularly interested in timely issues facing public administrators, but enduring questions are important and, of course, always welcome. We look forward to hearing from you and to engaging in this dialogue with you.
This concludes PAR Podcast, episode 76.16. To listen to additional episodes and learn more about Public Administration Review, please visit us online at publicadministrationreview.org. You can also find us on Facebook and Twitter at PA Review. Thanks for listening.